So I said to her, give me my money or bad things are just gonna happen to you. And one thing led to another, and she ended up in my oh, hi. Welcome to the Film Addict Show. I am your host, the Film Addict. And today we're going to be looking at the movie um, Nebraska. Now let's talk about Alexander Payne for a minute here, the director. Now, Alexander Payne is wonderful. He is a fantastic director who's had many film credits to his resume, and all of them excellent. The ones I've seen are About Schmidt, Sideways, The Descendants, and most recently Nebraska. Now he has a very unique style of movies that he directs. He has a very unique style. He mainly goes for family-oriented topics, very focused around family issues, family troubles, and then also he explores with the idea of characters going on a journey of self-realization, or self-actualization of themselves, something that they didn't know before, or something about someone else that they didn't know about before, and they learn from those experiences, and makes the story richer, makes it even more enjoyable. And so Nebraska is nothing different from that dynamic. We have Bruce Stern, starring Bruce Stern, starring Will Forte, Bob Odenkirk, and June Squibb. And Bruce Stern plays Woody, an old man who feels that who gets something in the mail that says that he won $1 million. Now, it turns out that he didn't actually win $1 million. It's just one of those magazine subscription. You're lucky. One of your numbers may be the lucky winner kind of deal. So it's a complete total sham. Will Forte plays his son David, who uh, who feels sympathy for his father in a way, who see he's the kind of the more responsible one. Uh, and so he's ours. And then Bob Odenkirk plays Ross, the oldest son, who sees his father as as an old man who only sees him as a senior citizen now. Doesn't really care for him that much anymore because he was never really a good father to begin with. And then June Squibb plays Woody's Bruce Stern's wife, Kate, who is fed up with Woody talking and talking and talking so much about winning $1 million when really she knows it's all bull, and so she's every chance she gets, she's always demeaning him, always putting him down. She's that kind of wife, and she knows how to talk sass. She knows how to talk trash on everybody, and she's one of the more comedic roles in the movie. Now, Woody still believes that he actually did win $1 million, and he has to go to all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska, to claim his winnings. And he lives in Billings, Montana, so that's 2 states away from where he's at. So we first see him, trying to walk all the way to Nebraska because he is so committed to getting his $1 million that he's willing to walk all the way there just on a fantasy, just on a false hope. And David, David sees. David decides to see this as a chance to really get to know his father more, and so he decides to indulge on his fantasy and drive him all the way to Nebraska to get his money. And on the way, it's not a road trip movie. This is not a road trip movie. It's not a. We do not get the really good stuff until we actually get to Nebraska, and they decide to go back to Hawthorne where they originally came, where their old home used to be. It's where they used to live. It's where all their family is, and it's I see it as a bit of as a movie that kind of like we all know the traditional American dream, which is to grow up, get married, have kids, have a home, and start a life. And this movie kind of shows the kind of like the dark side of that American dream. Is that, or not, maybe not the dark side, but definitely like, is this really what we were looking forward to? Kind of aspect of the American dream is and during and we have we learned that Woody was an alcoholic for pretty much pretty much his entire adult life, and because of that alcoholism was not a very caring or attentive father to his two sons who need him most. And Wilford, um, well, they get to Hawthorne, Nebraska, where the old town where they used to live, and we see this family, the Grant side of the family, and it's a very boring, it's a very very mundane kind of family. They just sit around and watch TV, and I really like the way that I really like how Alexander Payne didn't, just hire a whole bunch of actors to be in this movie. The only real actors are kind of the main characters that have the most dialogue, but all the other people in this movie, the extras, were actual residents of the town, which I thought was a great way to do it. It makes it more real, makes it more believable. This film was filmed in black and white, which I thought was an excellent choice because it really brings like an Ansel Adams type style to the movie, and it really brings out the real rural, rustic America of the middle of the country, in like out in God knows where, kind of nowhere, kind of place. And so David on his own learns that his father was he already knew that he was a Korean vet, but he only thought he was a mechanic. He found out that apparently his father got shot down while being transported, and maybe that contributed to his alcoholism a bit. And he meets an old fling that Woody used to have with, um, who now works for the local paper, because once they get into town, he tells everyone that he won $1 million and becomes an instant celebrity amongst the townspeople. So they want to do a story on him, and he gets his picture in the paper, and then David just lays it down for the newspaper lady that he didn't actually win $1 million, and so she tells him that they used to go together, and this is important. This is an important part because it's brought up later. So but then once everyone learns that Woody is a supposed millionaire, they start. Then that's where the vultures start coming out. That's where the people who say, "Oh, you owe me money," start coming out. Even his own family, and it really shows how money can bring the worst out of a lot of people. I think it's a um, very good analogy of how money can bring, you know, can really make people turn on each other, especially those within a family. And uh, and they try to explain that he's not a millionaire to no avail, and he's he's. It seems that the reason that Woody wants to believe that he's won $1 million because he sees it as his last chance, his last shot at actually mattering to somebody, mattering to people. Because what Bruce Dern was excellent in this movie, and the fact that when the scene in the restaurant when they point out, hey, we have a celebrity within our midst, stand up, Woody, take a bow, and he was like, hey, they decide to let him. What David is like, hey, Dad, come on, this is your moment, and he stands up, and you could see the look of satisfaction, the look of he's like thinking, wow, I matter, people actually are cheering for me. He feels important for a brief moment. You can see it in the facial expressions of Bruce Stern, which he does an excellent job. And I thought Will Forte did a tremendous acting job as well. I mean, this is MacGruber. This is the guy who was in fucking MacGruber. And one of the worst movies ever made, guilty pleasure of mine because it's stupidly funny. But Will Forte totally can act. He can really act. I mean, it really shows his abilities in this movie. Um, and then we we get the everyone. Then everyone's asking for money. Then everyone finds out that he actually isn't $1 million. Then he's instantly laughed at. He's made a mockery. And one moment in the movie I liked was, um, you could see like they found his ticket and they're making a mockery of it. But you could, but this piece of paper is the thing that he really cares about. He really, you know, it's something that he has been striving for. It's something that gives him hope. It's a piece of paper that gives him hope, and they are making a mockery of it. They are laughing at him. And you could see the sadness in his face when he just takes it, he just folds it up and then puts it back and then just turns around and walks away. And Will Forte, David just does an honorable thing by by punching that bastard in the face that was making fun of him. So he was standing up for his father. But then we find out what what he really wanted to do with the $1 million in the next scene, and that was he wanted to buy a new truck, but he wanted to use the rest of the money to leave something for his sons for when he dies. That's a very sad moment because he's not only does he see a chance of mattering and a chance to get something for his own, but he wants to use the money to make things right with his sons for all the years of not being there in the first place. I thought that was a very touching, very sad moment in the movie. And other performances of June Squibb was excellent. She just talks trash on everybody. She just talks shit. The scene in the graveyard was great when she's like going, "Oh, that's Woody's mother. She didn't like me much. She said she wanted a girl that could milk a cow." And I said, I don't want to touch no cow titties. I'm a city girl." And she was hilarious. And then she goes, "That's Woody's cousin. He was a drunk. He filled me up one time. We got a handful of boob, and your father didn't notice a damn thing." And then the biter of that scene is when she goes, "Oh, what is it?" I can't remember the guy's name. She says was, "When did he die? Huh? He wanted to get in my pants too." And then she lifts up her skirt. She's like, "You see what you could have had if you stopped talking about weed." It was pretty funny. I have to admit, she was like the comic relief of the movie, and and Bruce Stern's his moments of confusion are quite comical too. Like there's a scene where David and Ross try to steal back an air compressor that a friend of their dad's stole a long time ago, and they steal the air compressor. They get into the car, and they find out it's not the air compressor, and it's not even that guy's house. So they have to awkwardly drive back to the farm and return the air compressor into the farm, and the people they stole it from come home and they're hiding in the barn, and um and then they get back, so they avoid that awkward situation, and they go, "Why didn't you tell us that was your air compressor, Dad?" And he goes, "I thought you wanted it." And there's like, why would we want, what would we want with an old air compressor? And they're like, and he just goes, "That's what I was trying to figure out." It's very comical, very good moments in the movie. And the cinematography was wonderful. Of course, it was filmed in black and white, but the landscape shots, landscape shots of this movie really give it a postcard feel. You can see the field of cows, you can see the hills, the plains and everything, and it's just all beautiful. It's just like, this is America. This is where we are from. This is us. It's really, it really brings a sense of, not, I wouldn't say patriotism, but a sense of nostalgia of some kind. And I it's I give this movie a 9 out of 10. The music was excellent too. Mark Gordon was composer for this movie, and I've never heard of his stuff before. Apparently, he's in a like a band or something. I don't know, but I thought he was an excellent choice to do the music. It was a great violin. Love the violin in the song, in the music, and it just gave it an old timey feel to it, and it was it was very well done. What else can I say about this movie? I can't really say much else because I mean, 9 out of 10. I say go see it. Alexander Payne does really excellent movies. He didn't write this movie. He usually co-writes his movies, but he didn't touch this one. And I thought it was very well written, great dialogue, great chemistry between characters, great dynamic. Um, I say go see this movie. It's well worth your time and money. I bought this movie, so because gotta get that in there. But so next review shall be soon, and thank you for watching. That was Nebraska.